welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, we're just going to compare Pokemon to tons of different asset classes and, the craziness that's going on in the market, especially with, GME, AMC, Nokia, BlackBerry, Dogecoin. And, please keep in mind that this video is strictly for entertainment purposes. I'm going to take a lot of crazy leaps and bounds in order to connect a lot of these things. And remember that this channel is centered around Pokemon. So everything I talk about today will be very heavily Pokemon based. And also, I'm definitely not an investment advisor. And this video, again, is just for entertainment purposes only. But I hope you guys enjoy it. And I know this channel does have a few listeners that are, not really from America. They're international listeners, so maybe they're not super familiar with what's going on with GME, which is GameStop, and AMC, which is a movie theater. So both these companies both have stock, and Wall Street hedge funds had shorted those stocks. So all shorting a stock means is they bet that stock to go down. Well, what happened was a group of Redditors got together and bought a lot of that stock. In turn, buying that stock, the price for the stock increased. And these hedge funds who had shorted the stock were going to lose a bunch of money by shorting that stock. So, in turn, had to buy more of that stock, which causes a cascading effect to continually increase that price to, very high, very unrealistic dollar amounts. So how can we really compare Pokemon to, two hyperinflated stocks on the stock market? And I think a lot of that, the way you're going to relate it, is the people who caused that price increase were Redditors. And a lot of Redditors are part of, call it the millennial/Gen Z generation, who grew up probably in the 90s, got into Pokemon, in the very early 1990s, 2000s, the same time that these same people were going and seeing the Pokemon movie at AMC movie theaters and were going and buying their Game Boy games at GameStop. So, these were brands that millennials were very familiar with. Maybe they dropped off a little bit, but then all this hype that became around it, people instantly flock to them now. And anytime, people flock to anything, instantly there's a financial aspect that's going to go with it. So when, a lot of influence, and there's a bunch of different things that happen with Pokemon to make the prices, do what they did. The quarantines definitely had a lot of stuff to do with it. Influencers getting into the Pokemon hobby had a lot to do with it. The more explosion in YouTube created content helped it. And then for, these two stocks, it was more or less Reddit, Discord, and other things that got people to rally behind a cause, which was more or less a big FU to the Wall Street hedge funds and stuff who were profiting off of, smaller people and pretty much didn't care about anyone else, only cared about themselves. So yeah, is it a stretch to connect the two? Sure. But hey, we're just having fun with this video, right? And, the funny thing about anytime there's a huge financial number involved in stuff, older people start to take notice. And people who might not have been really true to the cause or true to Pokemon in general, but they do start to see dollar amounts. So what do? They go in and they start buying a bunch of, Pokemon products off the shelves. And I call these people more like the scalpers, the people that are in this hobby for the wrong reasons. And the same thing happens in the stock market. You got a lot of people come in and just hopped on that GameStop and AMC train. But in turn, by hopping on that train, what did they end up doing? They made that price go even higher for those stocks. And by those people jumping into the Pokemon hobby, especially when it comes to modern product and the scarcity that is modern product, what did it do? Had an exact correlation and a huge price increase. And Another thing to relate the two to is the people who are making the most money are the people that were in this hobby when it started. Just like the people who bought GameStop stock at the very beginning, those people make the most money. It's pretty crazy how this happens. And, you can compare both of them to a bubble. Is Pokemon in a bubble? What happens in a year or 2 years or a few months or however it longs for Pokemon to start to really pump out tons of supply of different products, and store shelves are no longer bare, and pre-orders are selling at MSRP, and everything's not just crazy prices? Who knows what's going to happen then? Will people drop out of the hobby? Same thing with these short squeezes that GME and AMC are facing, where people are artificially pumping up this price between old investors, new investors, hedge funds trying to cover their shorts. When's eventually even GameStop and AMC will reach their top of their bubble, and when it pops, are a lot of people going to get hurt on the way down? It's pretty striking, the similarities. Yes, we're talking very different things, but again, this is an entertainment type video. On both Pokemon and GME and AMC stock, if you were late to the party, you're really going to have to now pay a premium to party with the rest of us, and it's pretty crazy. And then with the short squeezes that are happening with GME and AMC, you start to look at all these other heavily shorted stocks, and then you start to see people move over into those and doing short squeezes in other places, which you almost look at Pokemon and you say, well, how does that relate to Pokemon? Well, everyone's seeing how the Pokemon market is exploding. So now people are starting to look more at Magic, Dragon Ball Z, and Digimon. Yes, Magic always being, a very popular set, but definitely never as popular as Pokemon. And I think it would be pretty hard to argue that, especially with how much money, just the Pokemon intellectual property rights have made over time. And Dragon Ball Z definitely being a lower one, and Digimon having their whole issues with, suppliers and everything that goes on there. But even things that are not as mainstream, like Dogecoin and Bitcoin, how do they relate to Pokemon? Well, they relate in the same way as their prices are, very, very volatile. The price of Bitcoin swings daily, The price of Dogecoin is just absolutely crazy. And, these coins don't exist if people didn't rally behind them at the beginning. And what happens is, especially with like a Bitcoin, is people start to take notice when things are actually worth a lot of money. And, there's almost the fear to sell a lot of this stuff because you don't know where the ceiling is. And there's that big, they call it FOMO, the fear of missing out. And, I look back on just the PSA graded cards that I've sold in the past. I've sold some of my cards at what at the time I believe were market records. There's not a lot of them, very few times in my buying and selling career do I ever say that I possibly sold a card at the most expensive card on the market. But guess what? Looking back at all those cards just from a year ago, it would have been like giving them away today. That's how volatile this market is. Cards that I thought I did the best ever sales mean nothing now. And think about if you bought Bitcoin for $20 and you sold it for $100. You would have been, so smart. You would have just, made all this money. But if you held on to it, it would be worth what? I don't even know what Bitcoin's at now, like $30,000. And you almost feel the same way with Pokemon cards, that you just want to hold on to them and you don't want to let them go. But then, when it comes to like the older generation, they compare Pokemon cards to something like, the Charizard first edition is our generation's Mickey Mantle. Well, I hope someday people say the Mickey Mantle card was the older generation's Charizard, where it's a little bit of a reversal, where Charizard is number one. And then even with Pokemon, you still have that like super high tier, you know, like the Illustrator Pikachu and the Honus Wagner TO6 card. Like those are the top of the mountain type cards. And you know what? If you want to get any of these really old cards, you got to pay a lot of money. And the prices probably will never drop down to a point where they're attainable for everyone. Listen, I don't care what happens with the Pokemon market. You're probably never going to be able to afford a PSA 10 first edition Charizard unless you have a lot of money. That price will never drop down to where you can just pick up a PSA 10 Charizard for, I don't know, between $1,000 and $2,000. Like, that time is gone. You'll never see that again. I don't care what happens to the market. And you almost want to compare Pokemon cards now. We'll talk about another commodity, gold and silver, right? Why, how can you relate it to gold and silver? When you look at gold and silver, what's the first thing you instantly think of? You think of it as a way to store wealth and a way, because it's tangible, right? Like you can hold gold, you can hold silver in your hand where maybe you can't hold, say, a stock or Bitcoin. But gold and silver you can hold in your hand, and people always make that argument. This is tangible. I know that this is worth money, and I'm holding it in my hand. Well, guess what? Pokemon's the same way as gold and silver. You could tangibly hold a card in your hand, and that card is worth money. And guess what? A lot of Pokemon cards are worth way more than their weight in gold. But think about it. It's a tangible asset. And why do people care about gold and silver? What's like the big attraction when it comes to gold and silver? Because when the stock market crashes, gold and silver goes up. Or with hyperinflation, gold and silver is a way to, hedge yourself against hyperinflation. I don't know. Can we make the comparison with Pokemon and gold now? Yeah, because you know what? Maybe if hyperinflation did actually happen, Pokemon cards would be a new asset class because they would be hyperinflation proof, just the same way gold and silver is, and it's a tangible asset. I'm laughing talking about this stuff, but it's fun to think about, guys, and I hope you guys are enjoying this video. And if you've made it this far, hopefully you're laughing at these connections. But in a way, it's very true. Pokemon cards might be a new asset class of the future. And then you got people out there who are trying to hurt Pokemon, and they put out false articles and they're trying to kill the hype. Or you have people on the other side of the spectrum who are up there just, pumping as much content out there and trying to, inflate the prices of Pokemon. And, as a YouTuber, I'm a very small YouTuber, and the people that are listening to this channel, hopefully, are into Pokemon and they enjoy the entertainment value of these videos. And I don't try to make any money in any sense off of any of my listeners. But there are a lot of channels out there that sometimes when you watch enough of their channels, you start to, question some of their motives, because you can't make it through one of their videos without them hyping, whether it's their store or their pack breaks or, their auctions they're doing, or ways for them to just constantly make money off their listeners. And you almost look at those people and you say, are those people like the writers of CNBC and CNN and MSNBC and Fox and the Motley Fool and all these different articles you read about different stocks or different commodities, how one of those articles will be them absolutely pumping up the price of a stock, or the other article would be them just trying to kill stocks. And it's pretty funny to look at it that way too and say, how much of the price, for stocks has such a social influence to it, and how much does the price of Pokemon have, a social influence aspect to it? And to say that either one of those is 0% social influence would just, that's not a good argument, because there's definitely a lot that has to do with that kind of stuff. But hey guys, I hope you like this video. if you don't think that my comparisons were too way over the top or just, lost even the entertainment value that I was going for this video, I mean, it's fine. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think about this video? And if you are new to this channel, please check out my channel for, more Pokemon content. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please like this video, because by liking this video, it helps out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. The more upvotes I get will make this content available to more people. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for listening. If you've made it this far in the video, you are absolutely the best out there. And I'll catch you on the next video.